This meeting is being recorded.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for joining us today for the third in our series on IFTA and IRP here in South Carolina. This one is specifically focused on record keeping. Joining us today is Ms. Ernestine from the South Carolina Department of Motor Vehicles. Thanks for joining us today and presenting for us. We're going to go through a presentation, and we're here to answer any questions if you need to. We appreciate our partnership with DMV, and while you may not be able to see her, she is live and in person this morning. So thanks for putting this on, Ms. Ernestine. I'm going to turn it over to you now, okay?
Good morning. My name is Ernestine, and again, as you say, I'm with Motor Carrier Service, and I'm going to go through the record keeping slides with you. Okay, upon opening a new account or at yearly renewal of the IRP account, the MC7 is reviewed and signed by the motor carrier. This is a document is required by the IRP and IFTA to ensure that the guidelines are met. So everyone is required that's in the program to sign this and understand the type of records that must be maintained. IRP and IFTA contents of records. If you're using anything other than a vehicle tracking system, this is the following information that is accepted: the beginning and ending date of the trip to which the records pertain, the origin and destination of the trip, the routes of travel, the beginning and ending reading from odometer readings, hub odometer readings, and also engine control and any similar advice for that trip. You also need to keep the total distance of the trip along with the distance traveled in each jurisdiction. You need to be able to identify the unit number, either the VIN number or it's going to be a unit number that is assigned to the IRP or IFTA account, IRP account. For GPS system, you need the original GPS, a location, the data for the vehicle to which the records pertain. You need the date and time of each GPS or other system reading, the location of each GPS or other system reading, the beginning and ending reading, again from odometer reading, the hub, the ECM, or some type of device, the calculated distance between each GPS or other system reading. You need to identify the routes of travel, the total distance traveled by the vehicle, the distance traveled in each jurisdiction, and again, you need to be able to identify the truck, the unit number or the VIN number. This is a copy of distance records. Don't forget to document. On this documentation, you will see there is a unit number, there is a driver name, you will see the starting and ending odometer readings, you will see the total trip. Also, you will see the company name, the origin, the destination, and if you look down in the contents, you will see the date, the jurisdiction, and also this carrier kept odometer readings by jurisdiction lines. You will see the total state miles along with the gallons was recorded on the trip sheet. On the other side of the gallons, it will show what jurisdiction the gallons was purchased in. IRP, you are required to keep summaries. The summaries need to be the total distance traveled per vehicle, also the total distance traveled per vehicle by jurisdiction. These summaries should be kept either monthly, quarterly, or yearly. Inadequate records. For IRP, if the records are inadequate, the first offense is 20% of the apportionable fees paid by the registrant for registration for the fleet for that year the records are pertain to. If there is a second offense, the second offense will be 50% of the apportionable fees paid by the registrant for the registration of that fleet for the year for which the records pertain. If there is a third offense or thereafter, it's 100% of the apportionable fees paid by the registrant for the registration year for the fleet or registration year for which the records pertain. IRP retention and availability of records. IRP records should be kept 3 years after the close of the registration year. Okay, now we're going to talk about the IFTA. If you look at the picture, you will see there are different ways you can file your information. You can file them in a file cabinet. You can file them in cloud or on computer. There is another organized file cabinet, and there is a filing system that is kind of overwhelming. The period of retention and availability of records for IFTA. IFTA records you should keep 4 years after the close of the date is due or when the return was filed, whichever is later. Remember, keep evidence, keep your records, and try to keep them neatly organized. For tax paid credit, you can use receipts, retail receipts, invoices, transactions. It must contain the date of fuel purchase, the name and address of the seller of the fuel, the quantity of fuel purchase, the type of fuel purchase, the price per gallon, and the total price. Also, you need to identify which unit the fuel was placed in. If you are leased onto a company, the fuel receipts can be in the leasee or leaseor name, but there must be a legal connection. This is another documentation of a trip sheet along with a fuel receipt. On the fuel receipt at the bottom, if you look, it will be the the truck number, the company name. You look to the top, it will be the seller. You also have the tax paid gallons, price per gallon, and the total amount. So this would be an acceptable fuel receipt. Also, carriers can take their fuel receipt and transfer the information onto their trip sheet and document this. And that is what is at the bottom of this. They have the dates they purchased fuel, and this way you can do your checks and balance to make sure that you are recording everything, and it will make it easier when you are getting ready to do your IFTA tax return or your IRP renewal. This is another copy of a fuel receipt which contains the correct information, is acceptable. Again, you would have the unit number, you would have the driver's name, you would have the quantity along with the unit cost, the total, there is a date on it, and there is the vendor information. Okay, on this page you have some different fuel receipts. The one in the middle is handwritten. Most handwritten receipts are not acceptable. If you look to the far right, we have a fuel receipt here with the total amount, but there is no tax paid gallons. The tax paid gallons is written on here along with the price per gallon. This would be unacceptable. If you're at a gas station and you are given a receipt like this, it may be best to go back into the store and get one with all the information on it so that it can be acceptable. Okay, the licensee shall retain the following records for bulk storage facilities. receipt for all deliveries, quarterly inventory reconciliation for each tank, the capacity of each tank, bulk withdrawal records for each bulk tank at each location. So if you have different tanks, you need to keep this information for each one individually. To claim tax-paid gallons for bulk fuel, you must keep the purchase price of the fuel delivered into the bulk tank, including tax paid to member jurisdiction where the bulk storage is located, or the licensee had paid taxes to member jurisdiction where the bulk storage is located. You must be able to verify that taxes has been paid on this fuel. Records maintained must include the location of the bulk storage for which the withdrawals was made, the date of withdrawal, the quantity of fuel withdrawal, the type of fuel withdrawal, and you must identify which unit the fuel is placed into. This is just a sample of a bulk fuel log. There are different types of documentation which can be used. This is a sample of a purchase where tax paid has been paid. The taxes has been paid on this. So this is a proof. With IFTA, you also are required to keep summaries. You need to keep a monthly summary of a fleet's operation reported on corresponding quarterly tax returns. That includes the distance traveled by and the fuel placed into each vehicle in the fleet during the quarter, both in total and by jurisdictions. For IFTA, inadequate records assessment, if the records are not acceptable, your MPG, which is reported, will be reduced to a 4.0. And what that means is on your IFTA tax return, if you report a 6.0, that's going to be reduced to a 4.0, and additional fee is going to be charged between the difference. Also, depending on the type of records, it can be reduced to 20% of the reported MPGs. Thank you for attending. And do anyone have any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Ernestine, for that review. It was pretty
You're
in-depth.
welcome.
Gave us some really good samples and examples of what needs to be turned in. How can they best reach out to your office should they have any questions?
If you have any questions, my number is 803-360-7076.
And is there a general line or a general email they can submit questions to?
You can submit them. Well, my email address will be my name, which is Ernestine, ERNESTINE dot Aiken, AIKEN at scdmv.net.
Thank you, Ms. Ernestine.
You're welcome.
Thank you for participating in today's webinar. Make sure to reach out to the Motor Carrier Services Division of SCDMV with any follow-up. We appreciate you participating and keep on trucking.
Thank you.